we chakamot we chakeglor we koi ke twi ku we koi ke pinam kadia koi ke beban bedai beping ni emantai no bi dana ngo you are mi wolatin de jam ni emantai interview yana ka baloy wane mit ka twin wal I college student kadia I am sure I koi ngi kloy ke akwan piden chok che ke bi ke yen ku kana yana ka bi wo luitin ni yemen coin ben non kai kia na chi ke rut coin ngi nga ka kwen chuk ke rande wen chi ke ngi nga chi ngi alle ben ko ye kan fa kan ye ne ke jam ne yemen fa kan ye ne ke wet yen wet wen we cha ka mop we cha ka lor we ki share na iran bi wet ku bla coin ke ka yo ku nyar bi ka ke de bi ka ping a che wet tu ye tok e ke de ko ye kor na no mit to no college mit interested kor bi kenang bi me bagat ne ke chir ko kor ku brom ken ko ko pe benang mentors ke mit ke ajur gam bi lela na no ran no interest ku bi lui ken wok ku bi ke nyob kwer ke yena ka fa ken yen ke yen ran yen bi wo jam ken yen ba di shoya e nyandeng twin wal ku jol ya wal wel twin wal ke dia ai mentors ai mi da ye ke pyo ku ka ye ke kwany ku ne ka chir ka won ka yi SAT ACT ku scholarship things like that so the experience can au nyinda enta kan ka kor bi ke rom kan ko ken ne biag the community retreat kuran ben ranong pyo yen be be pen ne ke yen ke bi ke wel pa koi ke chiman tu ari ken community retreat ruon yen lui na asasu pan United States tan yen ke ruon di yen pe da red bag pen no yen chi lui grow by tan ku kanong pyo ba koi ken au mi da kai ken pyo ken yen au koi koren be ke ngade be ke dam ko nyal ku ken yen ka ba lon de man tai please like share we cha mo we cha ke lor koi ke ben koi ke be pen when the initial wal yes I will ke tu yen ke wi ka e ben tu the tree by tan kune yemen mi da kin ai lui grow ko ku de tu chira jwa ka chi ya ko ko ne wan ke ge wo ye ngade ye from lo ye from ni to fa ke ni ke we de ye ko la a chi be be a chi be dit lekin a pet ba ping pa cha ga mi ta to ku big ping ti ye iran to when a walk ti chol nan yin nga ka gan chi la life chi ro du be le wa phone jor man be ya ba de shwe ti chi an kan ti chana to le nga bi wo jo be rom okay en jo ko ti ku er tan ko bi jo yo like share please yen ka ba ti na we cha mo and be di ta ba ta ba le to right away ku wo be gal a chi be na ka ti kana ga ne tok ayen tiet ka na pet we cha ga lor we cha ke mo we ko ke ben en bir da na ngo en ra na ku de twi wo ka jam ne ka ke twi ba ita mit ben ken gan wo bi jam ne tong ka wa ja ba den wal tu ni wal ku Nyandeng tu ni wal so ke mit ka ai college student ka dia ku ka ye ka kor bi ke nang chiang kan mi ka ken to outside their state are pani chol Georgia ku ka kor benen coin bi ka gam tinon ka ne biag de mentoring ku jol ya coaching ku tutoring possibly anything of that kana baga jopping tinon cake ba den fa ya dom de kung ya la na jinga ku chenang kden chingi ni yakul ka pet bi network ku beto ne biag de gar kan ne ka ware wo jam long de mit benen alaka kan mit ko ka a che pin dan ware wo la lari bu ko jongi kol kwany nga pi de chuk Nyandeng de tu ye ka dit na wal a third year student Thuch I mean wal a second year student ku ke ka dia they were lucky enough big nang scholarship ka ti ka scholarship ken ti ka ke yok tin kana ay ko kor bi rom kana ko ke taw mit jel na high school law college ni yemen law college e ko na preparation di tare ko yen zaman nong thesis ye ke loy ku ke thesis ke ay ko coin banang na cha gada pet ka nong test le biyin yen scholarship ka chirman yi SAT ku ACT scholarship kaman nong minority scholarship won chi ke ngi kuna nong ra ngi chen ku binyoin kalas ku lo kwan cho ka yin lucky enough banang ngade bayo banang scholarship bayo kana le biyin kwen wala pandun lebe dam ko mial ku yina ya ku cho yin jalo pi du lo kwan cho fa ka ke ka ye ko e rum yen ka rum wo Well, and we do do chen by atem by awari baden ku buku jamtin kiji ke cha nong interest ya au kiji ke mir pyo chan bi ngadi bi ke rom kana koito kana ke anyai ke twin wal yen ke ye ban twen de twi ba etan ku ka ci be jal rab la chiang wei ku lo ka ku kuta ci form ka taw ni 2002 ku lo ke tiet no koy ke lui kan yen a guta ni bela la ben ke ka ci ya ben gudu war Kansas City a ci ben tramat ku ya men met ke dia a ci man wal ku nyan ding both of them aka e ka pir ne ngadi uh, ni stroller telena mati kuni yemen a ci ben ke koy lui community kan yen ka yoku chol kwer de la twen ku yen ka yik nyal de bai ku yen ka yelwel wut tonga bere ku bera bere aye panden kolwan ku ye kole e do den la twen etena kana kor bu ku ting ni nyin ka dia ku be mit be ke wel nim rot bi rot ngi bi ke gad ne top ku na nong ran nen ka den chelo la ngi ka bi changi ran de raya kana yen ka dom ko nyal ku yen ka la nyal ku yen ka nong ikol fa kana and because ten when we do to non cake. Nyandeng and well, thank you for coming, and I'm very grateful to serve you tonight and to host you. For your information, you have been here all along. You have seen your father and your mother serving the community in all aspects of the leadership. Now you had interest of helping the other kids who are still coming, going to college, as you are. You came up with this idea because you've been mentoring other kids that are not Sudanese or even two children. And now you came back and asked, oh, I've been helping outside of my community. It is time for me to come back, or for us to come back and help our community. I will welcome you to introduce yourself to the general public, people who are watching. And thank you everyone for coming. And from there, I will ask you a few questions and you will give us the background, both of you, about what inspired you to do this for the Teach community and the Sudanese community as a whole. I'm sure this is not limited to Teach. It's for the entire community, South Sudanese who are interested in the kids who want to connect and who wants instruction and information to go to college. Welcome, and you can proceed from there. Well, and then Nyandeng will come.
Okay. My name is Thuch, and I am for a second year student at university. I'm taking chemistry as a major. I'm working to get forensic science, and the reason I'm doing this, I guess, is so um, kind of inspired me to do it is mostly the amount of students that like sometimes don't know what they need to do to get into college, and whenever they're in like a senior or sometimes a junior in 11th grade, they don't know where to go from there, and they don't really know the process to um to get into like a college and get the scholarships they need to like make the payment a lot better for them. And I guess what made me see this a lot is whenever I went into college, it was kind of a thing where you have to look at all the resources and all the different steps you need to get into uh, the programs that you need to open your eyes to like what you need to do and all the scholarships and college searches and all the applications you need to go through. So my goal for this is to kind of simplify it for most of the students and kind of send them to the right steps from the beginning.
Great, great.
Yeah. So I'm Nyandeng Thuch, and I'm a third year student at Kenyon College in Ohio, and I study music and Arabic. So after that, I hope to get my PhD eventually and become a professor probably. So I was inspired to help with this. This is Wild's idea, but I wanted to be a part of this because I'm really passionate about making sure that people are able to go to college. I know a lot of people who want to go to college, and that's a dream of theirs, but then it's hard to figure out what to do. It's a very confusing process, and I had to go through a lot of it by myself because I didn't really know where to start. So I realized that a lot of the resources exist on the internet. You can, if you Google, you will be able to find things. There are a lot of different really helpful websites and people out there who are willing to share resources. But if you don't know where to start, then you won't be able to do any of it without figuring it out. And I spent a lot of hours trying to figure it out. So I want to hopefully make it easier for people so they don't have to spend as much time as I did trying to find places to apply, and then also making sure that you can afford to go, because even if you get accepted, if you don't get enough money with scholarships and financial aid, then you won't be able to go. And so I hope that I can help other students, other people, especially in the community, be able to find ways to make college possible for them.
Great, great. Good to hear that. So to know we koi ke ping ku koi ke dai chaka ping to non ke koi yue ko wo ngi tok to non koi ku tok ke dai ku ping ke no gon ke tok ke tin ke mit ke kor ke bi ke gam ku nga kor ke bi nyot to non koi ko ke bo chen ku be ke koi ke bi ke nang bi ke ngi chi man na ran ji ko la wer nom ku chi le chi wer la yu ke non ire ke ben chen kulwe la wera ta wutena cha le ma ya to lo kutin wodia kani yana ka message ni yakola. So you came you went to school in Ohio. Your interest and what inspired you, you're passionate about giving back to the community. This is what I heard from both of you. uh,
Mhm.
Let me retrace back to Wal for your interest. You said that you know many children who are interested in going to college, but if they don't know the direction or what to study, they may not find what they're really looking for. So what you're trying to do is to sow the seeds of knowing, to let people know and give them the insight about what they can follow, the insight about their studies. If somebody is interested in science, what kind of science and what direction would they go? Like, for instance, you are interested in forensic science. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. Yeah.
So that's what you're going to do. And you're now doing chemistry. So you are preparing yourself to get there. So this is the information you're trying to give to the other kids who are in high school now, who are preparing to go to college. It's good to start early than later. So this is what I'm hearing. So to start early, what is the best way of starting early? Is it through tests, or is it through connection, or is it through mentoring? What does that mean?
Okay, so mostly whenever you want to start looking for colleges, they're gonna first thing you need to know is like where your grades are and like if you have the right credits to graduate for sure. So that's kind of where you have to start. So it's kind of more in your personal kind of a personal standpoint where you need to make sure you're ready to go into college. And whenever you get to that point, the first on the next thing you're probably going to ask is if what are your SAT scores or ACT. I guess more in the Midwest is where they are more familiar with. So what you need to do at that point, you need to go to either ACT or SAT website, which I think is ACT.org, or the College Board, which also sets up for SAT. So at that point, you need to register for your tests. You need to study in those tests because those are the tests that kind of show you from where you stand on the national standpoint. Because sometimes, like based on your location, your grades don't really mean the same as like somewhere in like Washington compared to like Kansas or something like that. So that's usually what the first thing you need to work on whenever you're starting to college process applications.
So to prepare college application, you have to start with grade. So to get your grades up, so you can go to the college of your choice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nyandeng, you've been mentoring some other kids in the community, and you're going to school in Ohio. As of now, you are still doing it online. So if this one is the information you're giving me here and giving us as a community, how can you do this later in life? Are you going to be going to have a Zoom, or how are you going to connect with kids in the community?
Yes. For now, especially since in-person meetings aren't really happening, I hope to do things through Zoom and online. and be able to talk to people and just be able to connect with people that way. But in the future, if there are larger community meetings that are happening, I'd like to go as I'm able to and have sort of events where people are able to talk together. So I still plan on being involved, even though I'm far away. I still stay very connected.
Okay. So, while do you have that same idea? Do you have a program set up for the kids to join you so you can talk in person like we are right now? Or is that something, or are you giving us the information that we can try to bring these kids together and parents so we can work on this idea?
Yeah, I think it would be better if we kind of put out into the community how it would be easier for them to meet. I think Zoom for sure is going to be one of the bigger things until probably we can meet into person with most people. But
Mhm.
I think it's more important to have people involved in like how they'll be able to work together and how the different like systems that they prefer to work together with.
So first of all, if we have to start this program, that we now with COVID, everything is not the same anymore. We are struggling as a parent trying to adopt the new system of studying online virtually. So with you being a college student as you are, and Nyandeng as she is, and we are going through this trying to connect with the other kids. So if the community decide that we have a plan to bring kids, would you have any specific time and days to come to have kids join you, or is it future things that that we are going to work on? How soon
I
would you
think,
want to start?
yes, I think starting soon would be very good because a lot of college applications close around January, and then some
Mhm.
of them are open later. It depends on the school, but for a lot of them, January 1st is the deadline. So it's good to start thinking about it now and even earlier. So even for people who are in 11th grade, they can be thinking about it in 10th grade. Um, but hopefully we can have some meetings maybe on Saturday when more people are free from school and
Mhm.
have some, either we can talk about financial aid in the application process or talk about what the common application looks like to apply to colleges or how to search through a college website to find information that you want to learn from that. So just things like that that are pretty simple but are really important if no one explains to you, and those kind of things you can take for yourself and you can use that on your own time as well, so you don't just have to wait for us to tell you everything. We can share the information and then you can kind of take agency for your own process.
Yeah, I agree with that. So mostly, I think the weekends for sure are going to be a better time for that. And I don't think we have to do everything like at one time. We can probably do week by week where we start, I guess, from the beginning with processes you need to go through, and then the next week they can get time to work on it and to start growing on what they're um where they want to go specifically because it's not really like a quick process. It usually takes around a few weeks to months depending on what you're applying to and how many colleges you're going to.
Okay. As we speak here now, that before we roll this out, so what's the number one position that you encourage kids who are juniors now or seniors for sure? If you usually if you start in your junior year, you are in a good start because you would know next year what tests you want to take. Because if you take both, it's fine. You can still go there. What college you want to go to? What is your passion? What are you trying to major in? These things are things that you prepare before you go there. Now we are in February and we are in COVID time. Actually, we are in November and we are heading to December. So to start now, what are the best? Is it tests or colleges? What should the seniors look for from here? Things that you could recommend because you've been on this path before.
So for seniors, I would say many schools are test optional this year. And what that means is they're not requiring tests, SAT or ACT, because of COVID-19. So a lot of people who are seniors weren't able to take tests, and a lot of the test centers aren't open. So they're not requiring that. So instead, they're just looking at your grades and things like that. So I would say if you're a senior, don't worry so much about it at this point, but focus on look at your grades and what kind of activities you're doing, extracurricular, whether it's you're a part of a club or a sport, or maybe if you're in a choir or anything like that, or even if you help at home with your siblings, if you babysit, if you work at a restaurant or anywhere else, that those things you can also include to your activities. So once you think about what kind of things you do outside of the classroom, you can also start thinking about maybe what kind of essay you want to write for your personal statement, which is common for a lot of schools, especially in the common application. They require a 600-word essay. It can be about anything, but something that's relevant to your life and to your experience. So I would think about those kind of things, figure out what kind of college you want to go to, what you're interested in majoring in, and whether that school has that program, if it's strong in that kind of program as well. And then also apply for the FAFSA, it's a federal financial aid application that the government does. So it's completely free, and it takes maybe an hour. So I would find your tax return, but as soon as you find that, it'll show you what place to look for. It'll tell you, okay, this answer is found in this line of this page. So it's something that it takes a little bit of time to figure out, but it's not complicated. And so there are a lot of different things you should do, but as a senior, I would worry about figuring out what kind of activities you do outside the classroom and also what you do in the classroom. Ask teachers for recommendations as well, so they can write a letter, maybe to teachers that you know well, that you do well in their class, and then figure out your paper, what school you want to go to, and what your major is. If you don't know exactly what you want to do, you can go in undeclared, so that's okay. So just find this college, even if you don't know what exactly you want to study. And then as long as you get those things figured out, then that'll put you in the right direction for seniors.
Yeah, I think one thing for like people that are undecided, it's best to find the college that allows you to get different options. So in case you decide that you go in and wanting to do math, but you wanted to do maybe like English and down the road, then you need to find one of those colleges that let you transfer to like a different degree or different like major that would help you kind of figure out what you want to do.
Great. So, usually, you have educated father. You are second generation. Your father and your mother both got their degrees, and now you're coming as a second generation. What inspired you as a person, well, to go into science?
The science, I think it's mostly like kind of like sounding like what do you call it? I think mostly my motivation is like our uncle. He in I think Utah. He died whenever somebody killed him in back in the few years ago. And my biggest thing was like if somebody didn't know what happened or there was no businesses, kind of something like that. It was kind of like there could have been a chance that nobody knew what happened to him. So I guess forensic science is like a big part of it is figuring out what happened, evidence, and figuring out what happened to different situations. So I guess that's kind of like my big motivation for that.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So you have a passion and you're trying to figure out and get to know and go in depth in finding the information for what had happened. Okay. I can hear that you have a goal and something to follow and the reason you're going there. Nyandeng, in your case, what inspired you to study Arabic and language and you want to be a professor? You have a great ambition and a vision to get there and you have already started. So tell us about yourself about that. How did you come?
It took a while for me to decide exactly what I wanted to do. I've been interested in languages for a long time. I took Latin in high school and Spanish in middle school because my schools offered that. And I always enjoyed being able to communicate with people in different cultures and just understanding how languages work. But also, Arabic specifically interested me because both my parents speak it, and it's something that is a part of the community, and also just just something that helped me feel like I could probably connect a little bit more with my heritage. And also, it's a little bit easier to find in some schools. So my college had Arabic, so I just took it my first year to fulfill the language requirement. And it was something that I thought was really it was interesting, and it also was something that I saw a future in. I saw there were a lot of different opportunities. Different, I could go to translation, I could work with the United Nations, and those kind of, there are a lot of different options for Arabic. And so once I kind of learned those opportunities, I decided to explore that further. And I also study music as well because what's important to me is cultures and using music and how it's present in every single culture and how people connect with that. And I think that's something that's important to me. So I want to be a professor and study those kind of things and how people use music, but also how they use language and how cultures are formed around that. So that's something that's important to me. And then being able to give back as a professor is something that I think would be really great.
To both of you, great. That's good to hear. You have quite a bit of culture and ambition embedded in that kind of description of what you just told me. So, what does cultural heritage mean? You just said that both your father and mother speak Arabic, is part of you. You want to explore it further, and you like languages. So far, Arabic is one of the largest languages. If it's not second in the world, it might be a third. I don't know. Not quite sure, but it's spoken in a lot of countries, especially Middle Eastern countries and the 22 Arab countries. So, what does cultural heritage mean, and how important is it?
Um, so it's definitely very important to me, um, just because it's thinking about heritage. It's just it really just means where you come from, and so knowing that my family's only been in America for a little bit, this isn't the place where all of our roots are. They're back in South Sudan, and so I think about where my family come from, the kind of things that my parents and grandparents and everyone else has gone through, and also the different things that make our culture the way it is, whether it's language and food and music and just like different traditions and things like that that I hope to understand more and more. And it's especially the second generation, as first generation American, it's different and can be difficult to understand everything, especially living in America and going to school with fellow Americans and everything. But it's something that I'm always thinking about, and I always want to make sure that I keep it personal, keep it close to me. I'm always thinking about how to make sure that I'm doing, like living up to my heritage and keeping it a part of all of my life.
Yeah, I
Well,
feel it's important too. Yeah, because I guess like South Sudanese people, like one of the newest countries, like people don't really know our culture and heritage, and if we don't remember it, I guess most people wouldn't, because it's just something that like mostly very important to us and something that we experience and what we know, especially with the language too. Something that like our parents also speak Dinka too, so that's kind of something that is specifically makes us different and stand out in the world. And if we don't protect it and we don't uh, prioritize it in the way that like will keep people remember and our kids will remember, then I guess no one else will be able to tell it for them. So it's something that like your personal experience will most likely kind of um, kind of highlight for you in your life and maybe other people in your life. So especially in your family too, it's one of those things that you need to pass down and make sure they know where they came from and who they are.
great point. So, I'm going to highlight that with song. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Sudan. Big music no buy. Big Pandania. In production. Yale yanira de picha kana kanoe. De wakonya mana pena yuweza chaka konyo. Johnson dakana takoyo. Watu bola lere jiteng. Atumi yang ating kira bebo kwe. Kiu sudana butuka kuku kapande. Amya chabi gara mobi. Ijuana jato kudokina ganyan. Wejenangi wajah. Wakijeng da chamaro minga jengo. Waka kukuli chalui. Tika banya dito gangi wabubu pana. Wakijeng da chamaro minga jengo. Waka kukuli chalui. Chama chikada. Atumi yang ate. Kaya will gumi wagwani pinda. Atumi yang ate manyo kwere. Buki janyo gulit negalang.
Hey, na pit we koi ke dai ku koi ke ping a chak ping mid jam kan yan a chi be ya mid per se a chak ping I college student well tweet a second year student ku kanong ambition anong vision a core ke chi wel tin wona koi mana de chak ping a chi wel ye ninar nin jetek chi be no ku ka ken be de ja pet yung chiro loiten Kene Akor blow into the depth of what he can do, bengi forensic sign. And alle taskule loy ka kichira nyai au der chiro loy, bengi kubisha be bay, because big thing. Kene yen ken adide. So man, lu in chemistry, kuna lozam and leben ka ambition the forensic sign. A great ambition, a chagaping. Kichen ben tin wen, ichilwe kay important a chan ba yiko chien bangi. Bai kau chien bangai udi e bangai te bi yintin utile yintin yen ka message ku kana ci bene non ke ka dia non nyandeng ku jalia wel tu benang ki le ye wer et benang ti ro jor non ti la ni na chini kau chien ti chinin culture ti chinin tongdu ti chinin pandu ke ka dia ku te tawintin yin ci kirku tani yomi pa ka dia ke ka kalwel ke dina wun ta kya to ki lele tane dina limno ko nyin ku ke ngadi wo ko kai ko war ke ci jar ku mit ko ke kin ke ka ke cha ke tin wun tin a diet ni rona wan yen gol tui yen lui yen form ba ita kanong different ne pe ke dia la diet pe tier ku I mean tui la gol pe tier ku ka diet pe ngwan akaler ni strola ka pik bilarte yen de tawtin nyan tin ga bogo kur ya fa kumen a ci ko ja ci ko kun ai pyoj ai mi dai ka mentor ai ka ko ni ka ko ke ku wur den ku mane den a ci ke ngi ko wan ye ko an ci ko ci le wono mi kai ko kai ka bu ti na non ra non no anen ga bu yene na ngi ki yen mun ta ala misala mesenye yen ka ki wo be ni ko lo jato ge ti are ki cultural heritage chan barongi yenga very very important. So to go back to the interview, while you have difficulty speaking language, and this is one of the choices Nyandeng had made. Your both parents were born in Sudan, which is North Sudan now. It was Sudan then. Your mother. I don't know about Thuch, but your mother, per se, let's say that. And she grew up there. She knows both Arabic and Dinka very well. You came here, and now you're learning language Nyandeng. Do you have any thought of learning Dinka to be fluent in Dinka? Dinka is not something that is really in the universities right now. It's orally spoken. Do you have any thought, or are you thinking about learning that later?
Oh, absolutely. I started with Arabic just because that's the one that's in universities, and it's the most accessible for me. But I absolutely want to be able to speak Dinka and Arabic, both of them fluently. Just because I have a lot of we have a lot of family who don't speak Arabic, and also Dinka is the language that's closest to us and it's closest to our heritage. So I
Mhm.
think so. I want to be able to speak that. Yes, it's very important for me to learn that.
Yeah, I
What?
agree too. I mostly want to learn it too, especially Arabic and Dinka, because like yeah, it's very important that we need to keep our language. Because I learned that by the end of like the century, about 90% of the languages will be mostly gone. So if we don't preserve our language, then we're most likely not going to be knowing where a language comes from or how to speak it, and it'll just be kind of one of those lost languages.
Good point. Good point. So, um, back to your inspiration of coming to help and mentoring children or your age mate who are going to college right now. So, what I have heard from you, from both of you, is that you want to help give direction in the sense of what people are looking for. If they need help with college application, how to go about it, search for college, SATs. But this year is a different year. Everything is lower. There's no tests because of the COVID. Scholarship are still out there. It's something to explore. It may not be tied to your grade, but possibly there would be something that somebody can follow to get that. Uh, in the sense of studies, how important is it for someone to go to college prepared, knowing what to study? How important is that? And what can you tell parents and the high school kids who are going to college now?
I think it's important in the sense that you want to go to college with a purpose because college is expensive. So you don't want to just go in there and waste your time. So you definitely want to have an understanding of what kind of things you're passionate about, what kind of work you might be interested in doing when you leave. But if you don't know exactly what major you want, that's okay. You don't have to apply to colleges with a major in mind. You can change your major. Actually, I believe somewhere a third or so of students in the United States change their major at least once. So it is something that's very, very common. So you don't have to feel like you need to stick with whatever major you decide if you decide on one when you go into college. But it is definitely, and also an important thing is that your first year or two, you're usually taking general education classes. So they're classes that everyone's taking. So you don't have to decide right away because you won't be taking your major class your first year. You might, but you will also be taking a lot of classes in other disciplines and other fields of study. So as long as you kind of have an understanding, so you can start taking different classes you're interested in your first year, that's a good thing. So that way you kind of have a direction. That way you'll be able to graduate on time, but you don't need to stress if you don't have exactly a major plan as soon as you enter.
Yeah, I think also for parents too, they want to talk to their kids and see what they're leaning towards or what they're interested in. They're not really sure what they want to do, but you need to make sure you go in knowing what you want to do and um not specifically, but I guess like a general idea because you don't want to go into college trying to do a degree that you're not interested in or you're not passionate in because you just end up not reflecting what you want to do in your grades and sometimes you're just not feeling like you can do it because it's just you're spending time doing what you don't want to do and that can make college harder than it needs to be.
Right. If you do something that you think is interesting, but you also know what the field is like on a practical level, what kind of jobs are out there, and what kind of success you can get, then I find that people who do things that they are prepared for, they do well. They do better than people who think that they should study something just because it will look better or because they think they have to.
Good to hear. Thank you so much. This is the information to know where koi ke tabi ku koi ke ping ku koi bi en bela ping mit ke I interested big mit ka ken tau big ke coin. Na kor ke chir ke na ku tau mendu ke chojang yai chojang yi biar gak chojang yi ma yendeng ma jok yen ke ran Department of Education ku chojang yi garanga jak denga temaket or any of our team ko ke to ne maktab jitan kum information kana bu consolidate bu bait to Zoom is available already, so this al bu set up ku bine ke bait in kadia ku be roll out, so ka akato ato already in place, so can en ga kala balla we bacon mi to ke law college ku mi to na high school it's not limited a preparation yen ga to wutin ku ka gwier chan binga bro gwir ku bi mit ku bi ka ngiya, so kana man cha ka ping ni long den mit ke I very confident na ku kwa ran chok chok mane I mi da ye ka pyo zoom I mi da ye ke I Louis serve ka chief counselors, something of that sort. The tene yen ke ti yen ka gi yen ga yen ke yotin mesen kene ke parents, so and be du chen ko ben to the closing boku ko chu ku be mi dare but jam adi dare ku ko anong interest chan big ping no wel chit ke ka fa kan is not limited ku ka chi bu ko tinong nyandeng ku tui ku ngade ku jela wal na nong ran de nong interest de kden kor bu kon ko chaya ku to in the community ke cho jangi ku yin buku bay ku buku yin connect when ko ke kor wete pa kan in kelon de ani en to wuti ku yin ke la twen de panda aka man wo jina ngo de chuku ting o chaga ping wen no wen tin ay le ni nin ko bu ben run ko bu ben anong to bijal ko chi to chi ga bu ben ngi indeed no wo zadu no wo ko we jinu bin ko we twe ko we ko ga jong le ko we to gye cha bi mar chan mit adit no gon ko ko mit ai pye to no mit a ken ga yin ya wa ko ke a cha ko ngi ko loy ku ka kwan ke den chu cha ping a ji ko ingal no nga scholarship de ku ko kwan chu e ki chi pyon de chen yar fa la twen yina kan ken ngal ba wan ken we cha ga chang ku nyan ding and one thank you, so let's come to the closing. For you, what can you tell parents to prepare and how soon can we start something that we can work on from this week all the way to whatever time you have given us for us to roll this message out to the community?
Yeah, I think mostly parents want to just talk to their kids mostly. It's just there's not a whole lot you can force them to do because it's just kind of the process that they need to know what they want to do and where they want to start. So if they want to be involved with their kids, then they can help them uh, kind of, I guess, keep the conversation going where they want to go and how it would work for them if they wanted to go out to a different college out of the area or stay where they are, and just make sure they know what they're passionate about, make sure they're motivated to go into college, and just keep their grades up. Just encourage them to do what they're doing and work hard and just manage the grades because they're most likely almost done. There's a few years left, so you just want to keep being strong in what you're doing at the moment.
And that can start really as soon as your first and second year of high school. You can Parents can talk to their kids. Oh, what kind of interests or what kind of jobs do you think you want to do? What kind of classes excite you? And maybe even thinking about what high school classes they're interested in will help them to figure out what kind of things they want to do in the future. And really just opening the lines of communication and making sure that you talk about maybe if you like Wallace said, if you don't want them to go very far, make sure you keep it think about what kind of things you're thinking about, whether it's like a financial thing, but also know that I studied far away and it was something that my parents were definitely worried about at first. but I made it very clear that it was a place with good opportunities, and financially it was much better than a lot of the options I had here closer to home. And I've come home all the time, and now I've been home for several months now. So I think just making sure that they understand where you're coming from, you understand where they are coming from. It's a very long process, but it can be very rewarding as long as you stay understanding and also just stay informed and make sure that you understand what's going on.
Good to hear. One more question for you, Nyandeng. Thuch is studying in Augusta. He's actually home. And you moved out. You are in Ohio. How difficult was it to move out from there and go to college in another state? How did that
Yeah,
serve you?
it was something that I wanted to try something different to see what was going on out there, but also I also needed to make sure that it was something that was practical. So once I realized I got a scholarship and the financial aid was good, so it was somewhere that it was actually giving me money, like I had stipends, so extra money to put towards books and living, and so I didn't have to pay for anything over there, which meant that it financially made a lot of sense to go there. But it was something it that I was excited to try something different and to meet new people and to see what kind of opportunities the school would provide for me. But it was something that I just had to make sure that I was talking to my parents a lot, and we can kind of establish how often I want to call home and things like that. So just to make sure that I was prepared before I left, and also while I'm there, making sure that I'm connected, and just to try to make sure that I don't stray far away or anything like that. So it's definitely, it was a difficult decision, but it was also something that I am very excited about, and I definitely don't regret it. I think it was a really good way for me to learn some independence, but also and meet some people from different places that I would have never met otherwise. And I'm able to come back home and share that information.
So, as we are about to close here, what college age? I mean, is it first year, juniors, or seniors? What is your target now as we speak? Who would you want to see in this first session that we're going to start?
I think honestly any grade is fine. What's most likely going to be more important for seniors and juniors, sometimes sophomores, depending on how early you want to go out. But most of the time, you're going to need to be in your senior or junior year before you can like apply to colleges and for them to be looking out for you. So at this point, for seniors, it's going to be more about getting your information together and making your resume ready for the future. For sophomores and juniors, you're going to be more focused on getting your grades right and putting together all the information as well, but also just looking out for what you want to do, make sure you're ready for what comes next at that point.
Anything else, Nyandeng, you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think Walt said everything right. I would definitely say that the seniors especially have the most urgent plan just because they're the ones applying this year. But everyone in high school can benefit from attending sessions and understanding more what's going on, so that way they'll be prepared when their time comes and they can do everything in a more timely manner. So I think everyone in high school can benefit from it.
Indeed. Thank you so much. My appreciation to you, to both of you, to your parents for the great upbringing and for looking back to the community. This is your community. You will serve it as much as you want. You will grow through it, and you already grew through it. And there are more time and more people to serve in any capacity. Thank you both for your time. I will connect with you again, and the team will come and talk to you, and we will see what is your availability, and the other kids that are interested in joining this program. We will roll it out and connect you guys so you can do what you need to get done. You are already preparing and you're already doing other things. You guys are busy as you are. If this one is going to include tutoring, it would be great. But it would be nice to bring you guys together so you can elaborate and try to figure out what is the way forward and what need to be done, and who need what kind of help does the other kids need. Thank you so very much for your time, and I'm grateful to serve you. It's a blessing.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Dale Jangiande, Tijak, and I don't know where. They were on your man, and you were the Jack when you John to Tagalata when you when the ball are letting at the Miana, Nila, Bob, you should have a cook at the good find it. You know, to that about a put up a cook at the good find the 1 year by. When the ball are letting at the Miana, Nila, Bob, you should have a cook at the good find it. You know, to that about a put up a cook at the good find the 1 year by. When the ball are letting at the Miana, Nila, Bob, you should have a cook at the good find it. You know, do not about a good find the 1 year by. When you go all vegeting, at the Miana, Milabo, when you should have a good find it.
Hey, and up your way, a cake lord, who wait a cake mob, who wait a lake, who koi win, cage ben, koi cage die, who chick up in your color. So, what yen koi cake weekend, koi cake weekend, ek meet the keto. Now, non connection, we a man to no Australia, who core, but we link when a cake at the opinion youth in Yanakakan. Great connection. Now, you can use to buy Pan America 10, please, work information, whoever parent, like work, Chang, who can be set up, big groom, big period, and big touting. Took a big knee, row, a nanong ran on kikui, cabin a bangi. Group study, to non koi one, Kachila college, who koi get on college, man, group study, a very important rate. A yin period non coliku, and I know kitchen dal, your formula, ye were candidate. Kulon you when a koi can run, better than ran. Crander, bidder, bella date, Kunaja Kayla put together well a ben we call it young with you. So can you go koi panda, we in a good cork and meet guy initiative yet a rate. A chicken bay meal, Kukaka chicken teeth, ya balwake, attacker. Kitching a gum, Chiluela cabaloy. Ay yenen ku kay palen beloy chiki chigam fa kene chak pingwen ne kajwe ke chiki ke lwel aya lwel chiki koy wet no wel keni malish tinong en koy ke camping koy del toke kana kana ya ka ya mushula na tada kayen loida ku jamda kayen ke chowo chobo man tay wet chiki mi chiki be ni al ku lwel ki ku kor ku ki ku woche ya pyoj ku woche mis ka kawajata chuku ke ka kwany ku panda ka to nang ka so chin yi buku yo kan mi ka ko ku buku luin to wedi en ga wedi yo kul kan chen be akar show abe be ben ku nang mi wen chi dom nin ku na nong di chiwo weekend bela bi yo ka buku bay chi ku lwel wen abe ya willing bi to ke ga mane a get virtually a ye nga ka logende kule class de le lum chi man ko jwe ka wo ko ke loy lon chi kana fa ayen kan ke chita wo to ko chita no wochin fa kini yen ke loy ro na chi mi ku chi ke to wan ka ta the weekend bini yen loya kul ku bi ya available ku bi nga bi ping benang ka bi tie ka bi ben fa men ne ka wajam ko ke target ku ka chi ke le ke ge ra no piowen bi ben ku bi be ping ni ka loy yen ka ku te tawen chin pressure to no we ku be ken ku we wer ken mit ku mar ken mit chin pressure e be le mit ku na chi ping chi le okay am ron ma tin bala le ngone ke yes na kira le ka ke okay be pi de te da ne kwa nyen su ku le chok tin won ter ku pi da ret bu ka ye lu ni to cha ka ping culture yung meaning de to non ko chi gara ye ke de ti jare na non roots non ni ko chien ke ka pet ye ne ka yin ni le ngwen randa kuna chin yi ko chien ka yin le wera bayang wen le baman ku ke man nyan tin kor bia pyo yen ke ambition de lu yar bi lu study ku ka lu music lu study ka ke e ka chilo ne pyo ku ka non goal de e bia pyo je ko pyo nin ko wen tin a forensic sign elon relig ku ka kor bi ngi exactly na non ke chiro wo ka bi gu bi yo di bilo na kerde mit ke anong vision anong nga de ke anong vision ko wa ke krenga ku mit ko ka to men non men kor be a business person whether you accountant will you marketing will you management any of that ku yene ke chang de mit ko kor bi mit ke identity ku direct a kor be a lab technician and all these other things ka ka bi ai ka to kwer fa ga ke jon en kinga inspired nyande nga chaka pinga ci lwel wal chaka ping ina wer ci lwel mana du yen non ko kene ide no ron ko lan ku kene nga ko ben la akal mit ko ka ben ka lawyer so won a lot of work ahead of us ku won community lui ku race ko wen ko big nan ko le won ko ko big ko nyu ni da to kene ke big rom kene ko de ka ci wo nyu ku ke ka ko bu ke kwanjo pa we pa ni tui we chakale ne fursa ci gambi kun lo ci lewno we ko ga education kan yen ke feel yen lewetin ku baga ke mit ku baga well nim tin ku baga nyol londen ku biga ko ke pe ci ke gam chan ko ke a ci be ya mit a ci a ko wen ke ko na ngi ba ni yeme fa ai lo ke da wodia buku support buku chataw ku buku ko buku ke koin ne ke ci ke gwe fa kani ene ka ye jam ne ko ku wek cha ke le to arway thank you so much dine elon we ku ka ya le ka tin ko ju cha de yen ye yinga bu du bai ye yinga bu ba ja nyal kol de be taw to no ataw no bo gat ke no ko chi ya tam ya ko chi lo al re ku ko ju ko ke get ko ko la pia da re yen ka yen pin mai ni yen ku yen ke be ya long ni nim ko fa a chin jam di ba be lo ke de yeman tay ai interview ke ni en ka lo ku won nyandeng tunyi wal ku wel tunyi wal ko ke ka no interview big nginden big rom ke ne community den fa ke ne en ka chi wo jam tin ku yen ka bi wo ko tin we cha ga lor ku we cha ga le ku we cha ke mo an mo bi dana ngo wo bi jo ko jiten wo bi ba yo no weekend program ko ka fundraising bin ka tiyo ka angor ka tawtin na non ka chien wari ka bu jo jang yeka we cha lor we cha mop we cha le thank you so much for your attendance have a good night bye now